Hello again, everyone. I'm Steve Beverly, and while this is technically a West Tennessee Today news commentary, we're a little more informal in this case, and we're simply going to have a chat between you and me. 5:30 Monday will be a most significant time once again in the life of public education in our community. This past Friday was a marvelous time, even though there were some people who are still angry at how buildings and students have been shifted. But I thought it was a very positive day when students, faculty, staff, and a lot of community leaders had an opportunity to celebrate the reawakening of Lincoln Elementary School in a building that used to be known as Whitehall. And there's still a lot of Whitehall memorabilia, a plaque in that building, but for economic reasons, the decision was to move Lincoln into this specific building. And it was a marvelous day, particularly with the enthusiasm of the principal and so many of the faculty and staff members there. And they certainly, in a preliminary fashion, got their school year off to a great start, even though Monday is the official first day. But let us go back to that 5:30 on Monday. 5:30 is a tough time for a lot of you, because that means you're probably in the midst of either preparing an evening meal, getting ready to eat it, or possibly you are around the table. Some of you maybe not are even off work yet, and you still have things to do, and just attending another school board meeting at a time when there seems to be such continued turbulence, that's not something that really you feel like you want to do. But I'm going to suggest to you it's probably a good idea if you put it on your calendar and make whatever sacrifices are necessary, even though it's the first day of school with the kids. If you feel strongly about particularly one issue that is on the agenda for Monday night's meeting, you better be there, regardless of what side of the fence you are on. Over the last 2 weeks, Brent Lay, a private citizen, a man who has limited educational administrative experience, has extensive ministerial experience, but was given 102 minutes by the Long Range Planning Committee of the Jackson-Madison County School Board to present a plan that shows no evidence of being financially vetted by an independent source. It shows no evidence of any kind of traffic studies to back up its assertions about how it would improve our community to turn all the middle schools into K-8s. It does not really give any specifics whatsoever of engineering studies. Brent Lay has also been talking extensively as if these things are a done deal. He did in his interview with me right here in this studio, that it's going to be great remember when I gave him that last 2 minutes? It's going to be great when we have this elementary school on the property at Northside High School, and it's going to be fabulous when we have this new K-8 that's going to be built on fabulous property out on the north side of town rather than on Ashport Road. Well, folks, it's on the agenda for Monday night's meeting. Last Tuesday, there were a number of Pope Elementary parents who were there, and they were none too happy with Mr. Lay's plan. They were none too happy with the Long Range Planning Committee for giving him another 31 minutes plus a video time on top of the 71 minutes he had the week before. And many of them, justifiably so, question, why was Mr. Lay given that big block of time when he is no educational administrator, when he does not have credentials that back up giving him that amount of time, regardless of how much time he spent developing what is called his Greatest Schools in America plan? No, they question why that was done. And then a woman who came for them, Lee Ann Henderson, she's a Pope Elementary parent. She spoke very eloquently, very passionately, very intense about the fact that there are many parents in the Pope District that are quite upset that Dr. Lay's plan is being given such scrutiny by the Long Range Planning Committee, and yet they feel their voices are going unheard. Ms. Henderson was given 4.5 minutes, a little bit longer than the 3 minutes she had been promised. She was given 4.5 minutes. Yes, it's a justifiable question, because when it comes right down to it, Ms. Henderson and all of the parents who happen to be there have just as much in the way of credentials as Brent Lay. But yet, here is the way the rules follow. with the Jackson-Madison County School Board. The chairman of the board, Kevin Alexander, who owes an awful lot to Brent Lay for his election to the board back in 2016, he names all the committees. The chairman is given the right to name all the committees. He made the decision to appoint 3 rookie board members who had never served before and named Morris Merriweather, arguably the most controversial board member of all of them, as the chair of the Long Range Planning Committee back last October. The chairman of the Long Range Planning Committee has a lot of latitude and leeway. He sets the agenda, and he can decide how much time is given to anyone who comes before them to speak. Now, you can argue all you want to that seems like that this is perhaps really not fair, maybe even unethical. But to be candid with you, it didn't break any rules to give Brent Lay all of this time and to give others who wanted to speak, and in this case, Leanne Henderson, to give her 4.5 minutes. All right, that's what happened last Tuesday. Here's what's on the agenda for Monday night. There is an item that says K through 8 property. That is the one that deals with replacing Pope School with a piece of land that the board has had an option on for an extensive amount of time along Ashport Road. They renewed that option one time. And then this piece of property on Passmore Lane that is off the 45 bypass. That's what is on the agenda, the discussion of both properties. Now, let me try to give you a few clues here. The Long Range Planning Committee did not make any recommendation to the full board this past Tuesday. So a lot of people were coming away breathing a little bit easier, saying, well, maybe they're going to study this a little bit more. Not necessarily so. Here is what could possibly happen on Monday night. It could be that a decision could be tabled. That's happened one time before, but that was when this board was on the verge of potentially voting to use the Ashport Road property. What could happen is that someone from the floor, it doesn't require a motion or a recommendation from the Long Range Planning Committee. Someone from the floor could make a motion to adopt one or the other properties. That could happen, and a vote could be taken. And you don't have to have 2/3 vote. It can be just a 5-4 vote. West Tennessee today has been told that county commissioners, at least some, have been told that an outside consulting firm has been employed at least in a peripheral sense and has made the recommendation to key educational people that the Passmore Lane property be adopted. That is one part of the puzzle right here. We are told that you might even expect a recommendation to come from the administration on Monday night. Mind you, we have said might. We didn't say would, but it is possible that the administration could recommend the Passmore Lane property. Now, here is a final piece to this puzzle. All of those things are possibilities, as is this one, that this board could vote 5-4, 6-3, whatever margin that it could for any of these possibilities, either of these 2 plots of land. But it still has to go to the county commission for approval to build the school. County commissioners are the bankers. The school board does not have in this state and in this community the right to establish its own taxing district. So the bottom line to it is the county commission still has to sign off on building a school on either one of those properties. The county commission has been very, very positive about the Ashport Road property. There are many of them at this point right now that are not at all happy with the Passmore Lane property because, for one thing, it wasn't vetted with them, and second off, they don't have concise dollars and cents as to what it would cost to put a school there, and second off, Kevin Alexander's grandiose plan, which probably is Brent Lay's plan as well, to build a high school ultimately on that same piece of property, And that is not anything that we have had any empirical evidence that there is a substantial number of adults who want to see that happen. But Kevin Alexander does, and Brent Lay certainly would like to see that happen. If that is done, it still has to be financed by the county commission. So it doesn't matter what the vote is tomorrow night. To go forward and build a school on Passmore Lane, should it pass, then it still has to go before the county commission and they have to say yes. So it's not absolutely a done deal. Our prediction is that tomorrow night, Monday night, if you're seeing this on Monday, tonight it would be, our prediction is that Monday night at some point, someone on that board will make a motion for the Passmore Lane property to be approved, and it will be approved by a 5-4 or a 6-3 vote. That's our prediction. And again, as we've said before, if the crystal ball is wrong, we'll be the first to tell you about that. But we think there's a strong likelihood of that happening. Then, we think that when it goes before the County Commission Finance Committee for approval to build that school, you're going to see pushback like you haven't seen since Verna Ruffin used money that was designated for stadium improvements for other issues in this school district. And there was a lot of anger on the part of the county commission for that. So the bottom line to it is tomorrow night, or if you're watching this on Monday, tonight, you're probably going to see that approved. That is just the preview. Then the question is, eventually this board has to make a decision on who is ultimately going to carry the reins of this district on a permanent basis. They said initially that Ray Washington was only going to be a temporary superintendent. They could change their mind on that. Brent Lay has certainly been making the rounds since his emergence 2 weeks ago at the Lincoln Elementary event, at the Thelma Barker preview this past week. He was all over the place, happily shaking hands, encouraging, and just being the all-around good guy. Jerry Woods, the man who just lost the race for mayor, and a man who has been in an executive capacity in this school district previously, he's been taking notes at meetings, and he has been definitely visible himself. Here is our prediction. You got 3 possibilities that are going to happen, and any one of them probably is a real possibility, despite the fact that Mr. Lay has said that he does not aspire to the job of superintendent, that he doesn't really want it. He even put that in his Greatest Schools in America plan. He said in more than one interview, "I won't rule it out." He's a possibility. Number 2, Jerry Woods could be a possibility. Number 3, they could change their minds and decide, we'll keep Ray Washington in that job, but we would like to put in Jerry Woods or Brent Lay in a deputy capacity and perhaps allow them to carry out a plan that I believe this board is going to pass, and that is namely Brent Lay's Greater Schools in America plan. I can assure you of this, if the Passmore Lane property is adopted on Monday night, then it is going to go down, at least in their minds, as a huge victory for Brent Lay and for Morris Merriweather. It definitely is. And probably Doris Black as well, because Brent Lay is trying to throw a lot of the credit to Doris Black for coming up with this idea for an alternate location. Of course, Doris Black is the one who would not attend, neither did 4 other school board members, did not attend a meeting of the Pope School PTO to discuss this issue. That was back before the first of the year. And then you also have to remember that she has not responded until she had the threat of a recall that is probably not going to be successful. She is the one who would not respond to many Pope PTO parents who attempted to email her because she didn't like the fact that they disagreed with her. And you heard what she said if you saw last Tuesday's meeting, that she has been vilified and demonized because she has an opinion. That's the way we're all set up for Monday night. There's some routine matters on that agenda. But we saw probably one of the biggest turnouts ever for a committee meeting this past Tuesday. For the real board meeting where the votes and the true action occurs. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. If you think that the Passmore Lane property is fantastic and you want to stand up and talk about it, fine, come on down. But if you feel as strongly about this, if you're a Pope PTO parent in particular, you have no reason to gripe if you don't show up and appear during the public comment session and express your view. You're limited to 3 minutes. You can say a lot in 3 minutes if you just make your points quite specific. All I'm going to tell you is Monday night is going to be another critical night, and it's all because of the decision on this property that has dragged on now, frankly, almost a year. The point is now, which way are we going to go? And if it goes the way I think it is this the first chip in the dominoes beginning to fall? And when we see a school district that is truly controlled by Brent Lay, Morris Merriweather, we'll find out on Monday night. I'm Steve Beverly with the West Tennessee Today News Commentary.